The live-action remake. A thing that companies make when they've run out of original ideas. Disney is the absolute undisputed champion of that, their most recent endeavour being Lilo and Stitch, a film which shits on every very concept of the original and makes Zach Galifianakis the main villain. But one thing I hadn't expected was for DreamWorks to throw their hat into the ring. Okay, said I. As long as they don't give it the Snow White treatment, we'll see. So, which movie did they choose to remake? How to Train Your Dragon. A rare perfect film in my opinion, and possibly the best DreamWorks has ever put to date. The question is, why? I mean, the answer is obvious. The thing is, this did not need to be made. Granted, I have no doubt this will do at least 600 million. So is the live-action How to Train Your Dragon following in Disney's footsteps and Snow White-defying things? Or had they managed to pull off a miracle? Well, join the doctor as I examine How to Train Your Dragon. Honestly, before I start, I should mention that this is essentially the same movie with 30 minutes tacked on. Firstly, in the intro. In the original animated version, when Astrid got her introduction, they threw water onto a flame and then a massive explosion went off behind her. Now in this one we have no explosion, she walks through smoke and it screams very pestilence to me. Although I'm okay and I'm giving the pass to most of these things because this is how she was in the original. The most grueling aspect of this is the forced diversity, because for some reason there are African and Asian people in Norway, which if you're a history buff like I am, it doesn't really make sense, and I'm really getting tired of this revisionism. It's very subtle, it doesn't ruin the entire narrative, however, it's there and it's very noticeable. Gobber, for some reason, isn't Scottish. I guess that Nick Frost couldn't do a convincing accent, and that's okay, but it does take some getting used to. The inferior performances are also a very grueling aspect, except for Gerard Butler, of course. We'll get to him later. For some reason, Mason Thames' delivery of Hiccup is very generic in its nature. Also, Nico Parker, for some reason, is very still and stoic, as we like to put it, like, oh yes, Ahsoka. The Marvel humor does get out of control in a few places that the animated one just glossed over. It was still funny, except it wasn't Marvel-fied. It's very obvious here. The accents, especially by the kids, are The New Zealand accent coming through on Julian Dennison as Fish Legs makes it sound like he's, well, Carl Weezer. The twins are by far the worst aspect of it, though. Rough Nut is about 200 pounds too heavy, and Tough Nut is, well, gay! At least his voice is. Their performances are very inferior to T.J. Miller and Kristen Wiig. That's probably the only time that I've said that about T.J. Miller, though. The dragon designs are inferior, except for Toothless, because it seems that they plucked it out of the animation and just detailed it a bit more. So my question is, why couldn't they do that with the other dragons, especially the Red Death, who is way, way too fat here, and it looks like basically just an oversized grunkle. The book scene, for some reason, is extended, and Astrid and Hiccup have a debate of sorts that comes up later. It just feels kind of like an unnecessary tacked-on addition to pad the runtime a bit. The test drive sequence is unfortunately inferior, and I saw it in D-Box. It's good, it's really stunning in visuals. You can see Iceland and Ireland and where they shot. Toothless's eyes, for some reason, don't emote as much. They're kind of stuck in that puppy dog-like dilated pupil state, instead of the reptile-like look they had in the original. For some reason, the lighting in the confrontation scene with Hiccup and Stoic is his face is in shadow most of the time, and that's really not on the actors or the writers. In this case, it's on the lighting department. Do better. The third act, for some reason, is now at night, which is very jarring if you've seen the original right before this one, like I did. It's also too dark to see anything at points. Honestly, if you're any sort of moviegoer, especially if you have bad vision, well then, you're in for a rough ride, let me tell you. Stoic is more pathetic and unrespected. It's very subtle, but it's there. I've also noticed that for some reason they've dialed down his Hercules-like strength that he had in the original. Maybe it was just too hard for Gerard Butler, but there are ways around having somebody strain themselves, so to speak. And the meeting scene where they're trying to find the nest is inferior as well, because there's so many Vikings, just background characters who have no relevance, that are just harking on him like, oh, here we go again. Well, that's not what you really want if you want us to buy that this man is indeed the strong leader of this clan. Alright, I think I should address the elephant in the room. It's not even the worst thing, but Astrid is worse. Her character is just completely different from the original, and that's not because of the actress at all. Firstly, she actively bullies Hiccup and is disgusted by him, while in the original, she just wanted nothing to do with him because he was kind of a weirdo. They made her basically interchangeable with the other side characters until the end, and honestly, she is actually jealous of Hiccup, and that is in the extended book scene. It's very easy to see for what it is, which is is a white privilege allegory, and I'm not impressed for it, Dean. She also, for some reason, threatens to steal his house. They change her line where she says, "Nope, just you," in the original, instead of "Nope, just me," because she's superior to him, I guess. Which she was in the original, which is why most of these are getting a pass. She backs the Nata dragon into a cage instead, and yells at everyone, not just Hiccup, which honestly is an okay change, because this could have been a lot worse. Instead of apologizing to Hiccup in the romantic flight scene, she apologizes to the dragon, and she's not impressed by the flight, she just gives up, she's like, "Oh, okay, you made your point, you're right," and she doesn't seem very thrilled about it either. Her whole girl boss intro in the beginning with the explosion I already covered, except they just make it a bit worse because she gets a whole intro to herself instead of just being right there with the side characters in her close-up. Also, for some reason in the third act, Astrid leads them. Also, the most annoying thing is they give several of Hiccup's lines to her. They already did this way back in the day with another popular franchise. Ahem.
If you want to kill Harry, you'll have to kill us too.
And back then it wasn't even a problem, can you believe it? Anyway, Astrid leads them into the third act and gives several orders to them, which were Hiccup's lines. And she also goes into the Red Death's mouth and is completely fine, when beforehand she was quite scared and stuck on its nose and about to fall off. Because you just can't have a woman be saved by a man, can you now? It's like, no, she was doing just fine, she could have jumped and got out of there herself. No, this is not how this works. This is pestilence, and I'm getting quite sick of it. Finally, the most annoying thing, and possibly the worst thing about this, Toothless is still a dog. Hiccup talks to him like he's a dog. Who's a good boy? Oh, you want to go outside? You want to go for a fly? You want to test this out? It's very jarring, and Toothless literally pants like a dog as well. I blame the CGI because of his lack of emoting, and honestly, the CGI is good. But this is why this is never ever translates to live action. It happened with The Lion King, where you had animated expressions that were trying to emote the crying. It just didn't work. It does not work here. And I'm sick of them characterizing Toothless like a dog. He was an actual character, so to speak. He had personality and intelligence in the first one. Look at some of his scenes with Hiccup. His reaction when he first gets the tail on. His reactions when he's trying to fly down. His animosity towards Stoic at first. His reaction to when he thinks Hiccup is dead. It's all there. But here, no, he's just a house pet, and they did that in the sequels. It's not just here. Let's move on to something more positive. Snorlax's characterization, I think, is right on the money. He's an arrogant little arsehole, and honestly, his whole dad being disappointed in him thing was a very funny addition, and I really appreciate it. Valka, Hiccup's mother, is mentioned several times, and I think it works here because of the confrontation scene with Stoic and Hiccup is much better because she's mentioned. They didn't have it back in the day, obviously, because they hadn't planned out her character arc and what they eventually did with her. But it's a welcome addition here. The locations and sets are quite beautiful, as well as the CGI, but as I said, it's less expressive. They actually show what happened to Stoic on his voyage into the nest a little bit. They don't just cut away immediately after a quick jump scare with a dragon. The music is good. It's still good because they brought John Powell back, however, it is inferior, and also I'm quite upset that they added lyrics to the How to Train a Dragon theme for the credits instead of just playing Sticks and Stones by Jonesy, which would have worked much, much better. Gerard Butler is an absolute pleasure to watch, and he improves in a few places with his performance, and he's the best part of this film. Mason Thames, as I said, is inferior to Jay Baruchel. They don't have to have the same voice. He looks the part, kind of, except he's quite in shape rather than scrawny. And his delivery and cadence is a bit jarring and odd in a few places, the way he chooses to deliver the lines. Nicole Parker is actually fine as Astrid. She's a fine actress, except for the resting bitch face that Hollywood finds themselves championing nowadays. But then again, that's not really her fault, it's the director. She's fine, but her hair is the problem, and that isn't her fault, it's also the director's. Here's a picture of what she looked like with blonde hair. She's had it before. I don't know why they couldn't just do this. But she would like you to know she hates you, and she's pulled the Rachel's Eglet. It's Hollywood, baby. Nick Frost as Gobble is good. He's a good addition, but for some reason he can't do a Scottish accent, which is quite disappointing, honestly, but he still does good with it. Peter Seraphina, which I think is a funny addition to this as Spiteloud, which is Snotloud's dad, who barely had a presence in the original, and he's given something to do here. Snotloud's very good, but he's not as funny as Jonah Hill. The twins are really bad at their performances, both by their actors and how they were written. Fishlight is fine, but I don't think Julian Dennison was the right choice for it, because he can barely do an American accent, and his Australian one keeps slipping through. My conclusion here is that the film is inferior to the original, because you can't make perfection any better, you can only make it worse. That's why this one gets a little bit of leniency here. It's good, it's entertaining. If you're not me, then you can look past some of the pestilence aspects, and it's a good solid film you can take your kids to, and probably enjoy yourself if you grow up in it like I have. This film gets a 6 out of 10 in the Plague Doctor's log. It's hard to top the animated one. But Disney can learn a thing or two from this live action, and they've already confirmed a second one, so I guess there's nowhere to go but up, because the second one's just okay. Hopefully they improve it. Just please, for the love of God, if you do make The Hidden World, don't make it shit. Until the pestilence strikes, I am the Plague Doctor.